We're going to start something new today. Before we do that, you've seen me using the Gel Magic and the Utah tube, the two-part. It's actually it's a 2-to-1 ratio. They have some System 3 products that are 1-to-1, 50-50, but this one's a 2-to-1. And then this special Utah tube chamber, let me get around here so I'm not looking at it, or looking at the camera. You got the part B up here and the twice as much part A down here, and then it comes up a hole in here and comes out right there, and then this part comes out this slide tube here, so that when you use it in your caulking gun, you just push it up and it either mixes 2-to-1 out here into a cup, a little cup, if you need just a little bit, which I do a lot, and I love this tube for being able to do that. Or you have the mixing nozzle on it, and when you're doing all those seams like we did on the inside, this is really slick little tool. I'm glad I come across this. You'll remember that we had that one little spot in here I found that had a little bit of a hard spot in the panels here, and it gave me a little bit of a divot, and I wanted to ferret in so you can see where the fairing compound feathers out into the plywood again here. But when I look down it, I get this kind of optical illusion that doesn't let me know whether or not I've actually, fixed it or not. So what I've done, or what I try to do, is I'll take some scrap cloth and I'll lay it along there and smooth it in, and then I'll sight down it and say, okay, it's fixed, I don't see it. So if you got some spot like that you want to test, take some old cloth and just lay over it to see whether or not you fixed it, because once the cloth is on, you don't really be wanting to put too much thin coats of fairing compound on top of the cloth. You want to put it underneath. So, but then remember, it's not coffee table in the living room, it's not an heirloom for the Smithsonian, it's a boat you're going to go out and scratch and dent and have fun and get fish scales and fish guts all over. So let me get on to the next thing. Another thing you want to do before you do the next step is wipe the hull down. Have a clean cloth in one hand and your hand on the other side. Clean hand. Clean hand. No oils or anything that might screw up the wetting out of the cloth. Trying to lift any dust that might be behind the sanding. And also to feel for any areas that you might have missed while you were sanding. Most of the dust is going to be epoxy dust as opposed to just room dust. So I guess it'll become ashes to ashes and epoxy dust to epoxy. So, okay. Now I'm going to put on some clean gloves and then get the cloth out of the bag, and we'll start putting it on. I'll come back when I get to that point. If you don't want to do the full cloth, I've got a 50-inch cloth here, so wide, so it's going to go up to the edges here. You can get by with 31 inches of the widest spot, so you would give, say, I think it comes in 33-inch wide cloth, or whatever, then that's what you're going to need to get it up over the edge, or at least protect the bottom if that's all you want to do. So I finally got them this time to not put any tape on the cloth to hold it together. So now I won't have any pulls or tears. Right now all we're going to be doing is taking the cloth and opening it out. Because it's a 14-foot boat, I needed 5 yards material. And so I'm going to have plenty of scrap, but I use all that stuff. So I want to bring it down to the end here. I'm going to see if I can fold it over the end. Maybe not. Well, it's draped all down the hull. I've got it offset to this side, so I just have enough to cover up the gunnel on the other side. I'll be able to save this as scrap. I'll come along in a day or two and cut off the excess scrap and then save it for later. I do a lot of other little things with pieces, bits and pieces. So just, just right now, just go along and 14-foot boat is about all I'm going to be able to do in this shop. Just smooth it out. A lot of these creases will relax overnight, and I got a little spot here where the got a separation. It's not a cut or anything, it's just a gap formed in the cloth stretching. So you just take and push it together and then run your finger around. And it disappears. And I got to be consistent now, start in the middle and go in one direction. Sweep the sides. Over here. Probably do more on this than I have on my other boats as far as the smoothing. This seems to be a real popular item, and it's kind of important. When you put all this work into a boat, you want it to look nice when you finish. Some of this in the bow will disappear when we cut off the excess. This is the first boat I've had narrow enough to where I didn't stop, usually in here. I'll know in a few days whether or not I may have to go back to that. A lot of this on the bow gets easier when I trimmed off the excess, because right now I'm trying to chase the air down into the middle, whereas when I finish trimming this, then the excess will lose its bunching at the edge of the cloth down in here. So I've done a lot of it by hand, so now it's time to use my brush. This is still the first day, so a lot of this stuff will disappear by tomorrow. This is helping to push the warp and the weave together just very lightly. You can almost watch the moire, which is the that reflection you get, especially in video cameras, on plaids and things. You can watch the watch it change. On my first look and test on the transom, I may have to pull that back up and then use some of the other scrap I've got and then fill in the triangle. And I may have to fair that in when I put the bottom glass over the top of that. I may have to, I'll see. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it without having to either have a separate piece on the transom panel or a vertical seam. Now I should be able to hide a vertical seam back there. We'll see what happens. And I might be able to hide a seam that goes around the edges too with some fairing compound, but the only trouble with that is as it gets banged around, those fairing chips, compound may want to chip away, whereas the glass cloth would be a little more resilient. So much for today. We'll come back tomorrow and do some more of this.